Hey everybody, Jonathan Broadbent here, your host of UnWoke.Academy. If it hasn't already crossed your radar, Trump has issued yet another executive order, this one pertaining to 401k accounts, and that's the sweet spot for me. I can't help but at least begin the conversation. I do have a number of savvy readers, interested followers who have been messaging me and forwarded some articles and those sorts of things and asked me questions. So this, I believe, because it's complex enough, is going to be an ongoing conversation, and it's an evolving landscape coming out of Trump's administration and DC right now. There's going to be probably a few years for this one to work its way through the system and become something meaningful in the 401k market. But really, it was Morningstar that really it made me decide it's time for me to at least begin the conversation and issue a public statement. If you've been following me, you know that I tend to use Morningstar for a lot of the public-facing research that I do because that is a resource that you can use yourself. It's public-facing, it's free, it's accessible, and you and anybody can follow the steps that I do on Morningstar. So on Morningstar today, I see the headline, "Is private market investing coming to your 401k? Here's what Trump's executive order could mean for investors." Well, of course, you always have that qualifier in news articles from places like Morningstar, and I don't blame them. It could mean lots of different things. Right now, it's very undefined, but here's, in a nutshell, the way I suggest you look at it. 401k accounts typically, historically, have been very, very limited. And if you've signed up for one, what that means for you is typically you'll have a very small menu, a list of things that you're allowed to invest in inside the 401k plan. And usually that's a checklist of maybe 10 to 15 or perhaps 20 different things like mutual funds. The problem is we, the people who actually pay attention to what's happening inside 401k plans, are well aware that that's an environment like shooting fish in a barrel where it's rife for malfeasance. You get lots of people that have set up pay-to-play environments. They get kickbacks, there's revenue sharing. The revenue can be very difficult to unwind and unravel and negotiate. It is actually my bailiwick. That's where I've spent decades working, is in trying to navigate those, create clarity and transparency around them, manage the fee negotiations, strip out and delete the conflicts of interest, etc. But that's the typical experience inside of a 401k plan. Well, also, if you've been following UnWoke.Academy for a while, you've heard me talk about self-directed brokerage account, which is the next step in the evolution. It used to be really only the play place of very large investors. People with a lot of money inside of 401k plans used to be able to, or still can, push beyond just that little limited menu of mutual funds or whatever they are and get access to much more, really a broad array of virtually anything that's available in the publicly traded market, all kinds of stocks and maybe some bonds and mutual funds and what are called exchange traded funds, kind of, sort of, to without limitation. Anything that trades on any platform, with exceptions, might be accessed through a 401k plan. Those are called self-directed brokerage accounts, and I've been advocating for them for years, especially as it relates to UnWoke. That gives you the opportunity, if you can either add, if you have it currently available, or can fight to get it added to your 401k plan, having self-directed brokerage, think of it like, if you're old enough to remember AOL, AOL is like your menu inside the 401k plan. Going into self-directed brokerage account is like going to broadband. It literally is that sort of environment where AOL used to sort of limit what you could see, and it fed you the news and one thing, and it was a little glimpse, a tiny microcosm of what the full internet was. In the same way, self-directed brokerage accounts give you access to virtually anything out there. Well, the next step in the evolution, as Trump has put the writing on the wall, is to give investors access beyond just that, and being able to put investment dollars inside your 401k plan into companies that aren't even publicly traded. Those are private placement, for lack of a better blanket term. Getting access to private placement and being able to get involved typically in an early stage with a company's development may mean significant, wonderful opportunity for us to not only fund the future businesses, hopefully some of them really flourish and grow, and that gives you potentially the opportunity to get in at the ground level with not a whole lot of money. Because let's face it, at that stage of the game, when a company is evolving and developing and starting, tens of thousands of dollars are meaningful. And if you are an investor who puts $100 into something that in 20 years grows to a multi-billion-dollar company, you should expect that your $100 is worth a heck of a lot more than that. So when you hear about people who get invested at an early stage, that's what they're talking about. I don't want to mislead you. That is a significantly more risky area of the marketplace. So it's not an all or nothing proposition. What I suggest, and I think hopefully the sane, reasonable, rational people that embrace this as this evolves and becomes available in the public marketplace, I think most investors will probably continue to allocate, maybe let's call it 90%-ish of their portfolio, of their investment, their savings for retirement, in hopefully ways that minimize the drag on performance, like the fees that are siphoned off. I talk about that. Go back and watch the episodes where I talk about behind the curtain on 401k. I get into the details on the fees that are typically charged and how to avoid them. But anyway, that's beside the point. Hopefully people invest wisely and in unwoke, non-woke fashion across the board. Maybe there's a 5 or 10% allocation of your money, your investments, maybe a small percentage of it goes into these non-traded, non-public companies. What that means is you're investing directly, typically at an early stage. And hopefully, just a little bit of that could pay off huge if you get a couple of big wins in there. It really all depends on how it's set up. It is an environment that can be difficult to navigate, and I think it's going to require developing technology in implementing user-friendly technology to make it easy for you to stick your toe in that water. When that time comes, I'll most likely be encouraging at least a good solid look and consideration of the non-traded marketplace in your 401k plan. I think at that point, my direction, my encouragement is going to be as much as possible through the self-directed brokerage account into investments that you can know, you can understand, you can see, they're transparent. Hopefully, you're avoiding a whole lot of the management fees that are typically associated with mutual funds. Hopefully, your trading costs are extremely low. I show you how to navigate those as well. And maybe a little allocation into what we hope becomes a vibrant marketplace of non-traded companies. And that, again, of course, goes back to Trump's February 21st America First investment policy that he released. It's a great way to create funding for capital markets that helps today's businesses grow and flourish into the future for a vibrant future that we want to see. I'm Jonathan Broadbent. Thanks for listening.